Hello and welcome to the Women's Network. I'm Elke and I'm your host today. Again, welcome. The Women's Network is a cable television talk show mainly discussing women's issues and women of interest. So I want to tell you right at the beginning of my show, if you have interest in this show, or if you know a woman of interest, or you have a great topic to discuss that would be of interest to women, please don't hesitate and give us a call. We really encourage you to maybe be part of the show because there is so much to discuss, and as you know, women are really in the limelight right now, and we want to take advantage of it. So please get in touch with us, call us. You will see the number at the very end of the show, and we'll talk to you and participate. We'd like to have you here. Anyways, without much further ado, let's go to our show we have for you today. It's a very informative and fascinating show, in fact. I have two wonderful guests with me, and I will talk about them in just a few moments, but let me tell you how I got to my show today, or how it all came about. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the Immaculate Heart College, which deals with a lot of feminist spirituality. And I went to see a dance performance with a lecture. And the dance was an expression of the Japanese Americans being in the relocation camps during the years 1942 to 45, 46. And it was so fascinating. And the dancer, she was such an expressionist that I thought of having a show and have her come as a guest and try to bring a couple of people that were actually there as guests at the dance. And with me, therefore, I have Stella Matsuda, who is the dancer and also the director of her own dance company, but I let her tell you a little bit about it. Stella, so good to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, please tell the audience just a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm recently retired. I was teaching at Moore Park College, and I taught dance. So this is just part of my whole life is being involved in dance. And I was happy to be able to do this dance and share with everyone what it was, my expressions, my feelings about going into the camps. And it's really an artistic viewpoint, and so it's quite abstract because we're using dance as the medium. But I was happy to do this. I performed it 12 years ago in Scotland, in Edinburgh. And since then, I've been performing it here and there, not so much recently, and so it was exciting to share this again with everyone.
I know you brought us some clips, and I'm really looking forward to showing the clips to our audience. And my other guest is Florence Griffin, or Florence Sumari Griffin. Florence, so good to have you here. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? First of all, let me say that I met you at the dance, and later on you'll tell us why you were there, and but just tell us who you are.
Well, I am a retired school nurse, and since retiring, I've been involved in lots of different activities, things that I've been wanting to do, like going to the lectures at the Immaculate Heart Center. I'm very active in my own church, which is the Japanese American former SAGE, United Methodist Church, which has merged with Granada Park. And so between church activity and my political club, my Northeast Democratic
You're keeping
Club.
pretty busy.
Yes. And a lot on women's and
women's issues. Great. I'm
issues.
glad to hear that, because you know, women are really a focal point these days, and who knows what's coming up. I mean, We hear so many good things. Anyway, let's go back in time a little bit and talk a little bit about, first of all, like I mentioned earlier, I went to see Stella dance. And there we go back in time. Tell us a little bit about what this dance was about, how you came about choosing the subject matter.
Well, first of all, the dance was choreographed by my friend Don Bondi, and we collaborated on the project so that it's something that he thought of. It comes from a larger piece called Triptych, which deals with some of the injustices that were done. And so there's a piece on the Polish Jews, there's a piece on the American Indians, the Native Americans, and then the piece on the Japanese going into the relocation camps. And so as we worked on this, we had a man write the music or edit the music. And so his name is Craig Koopa, and he directed the whole musical side of it. But we wanted to not talk about hate, and we didn't want to bring up any bitterness. What we wanted to deal with primarily is to make sure that these injustices are not repeated, and so and to educate people, because
first let's talk about the injustice for our audience. The injustices are that around the early part of the 1940s, the Japanese Americans were pulled together. Why don't you?
Well, of course, starting with the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the ensuing panic that occurred on the West Coast, where 110,000 people of Japanese ancestry, and most of them American citizens, were put into these so-called relocation evacuation camps, and were forced to stay there for about 3 years until the war was over. Okay, so we're going to show some clips today.
Okay.
And while the clips are running, I'll explain what some of these some of the motifs are.
Okay. If we are ready, the crew is ready. Okay, great.
In the beginning. Do you want to hear my story? And why do you want to hear my story? Just because I am of Japanese ancestry. I come out with this gag on also because we really don't want to talk. You see, we don't want to talk about the story of what happened. We're ashamed of what happened. We couldn't understand it. But I'm removing the gag so that I can share this story with others, and even with my family. So many of the old generation, the Issei's and the Nisei's, first and second generations, did not want to tell this story. So I'm going back into time.
Seconds to the front.
What are the voices in the back?
It's reading from a poster that was placed all over Los Angeles and other places in the West Coast, telling the people that they had to evacuate in 3 days. The possessions, first of all, it's telling us the boundaries. Was this poster And it tells instructions to all persons of Japanese ancestry who are living in the following areas, and they tell the boundaries in Los Angeles and where we are to meet. And it gives advice and the instruction on the evacuation.
God, that really made an impression. Let me go to Florence. Now, after the dance, we had, at the college, we had question and answers, and that's when I met Florence. Florence, I heard you say that it made an enormous impression on you, her expressing herself in the dance. Will you give us a little bit of an input about your time and the memories that it brought back, maybe, or you know, what you can tell us, what you just saw?
What it brought back to me was when we were put in the camps. Of course, I remember the hardships, the discomforts, the intense heat. We were in Poston, this camp near the Colorado River in Arizona, and so of course we had the intense heat. I remember when we arrived there, we couldn't sleep, and sitting out on the porch and hearing the wailing of a baby. I can hear it to this day. And the dust storms and this kind of thing, and the lack of privacy. Here I am from a large family, and I had one brother already in the service, but there were 6 of us and my parents, and we were in this in-barrack room, which is 20 by 24, if I recall correctly. So you can imagine the lack of privacy, and our little army cots were just jammed together, and then curtains there to separate the boys from the girls. But this kind of thing, these are the negative things, and I sort of pushed them, you know, down, and not thought too much about it. But the good thing was, to me, I had grown up in Central California, Rosa, Dinuba, and Reedley in Central California, and in farming, and we were kind of isolated. So when this camp situation, it wasn't just happening to me, it was happening to all other Japanese. And so that this oppressive situation sort of, for me, made me think of having, being more in common with the rest of the Japanese. And other positive things, of course, was the economic leveler. It didn't matter whether you were rich or poor, you were in camp.
Right.
If you got clothes, you got them through the catalog or whatever.
Right.
So that was another positive thing for my growth. And the third thing was, even before I had gone to camp, I did have a faith, having been to Reedley and Reedley Junior College and the Brethren from Kingsburg. But there was a non-denominational church in the next block, and a lot of our activities centered around the church. So that the year that I spent there wasn't all bad in that sense. And yet, when there was a Quaker, the American Friends Service Student Council in Philadelphia, which helped to get students out to go to colleges in the East. And I left to go to Syracuse University for my bachelor's in nursing.
So it was sort of like a lucky stroke for you.
Yes.
Now, when you saw Stella dance, what did it do to you? I mean,
well, it sort of, how shall I?
I mean, her expression you know, trying to show her feelings? Did it make an impression on you?
Oh, I thought it was so beautifully
Yeah.
done. So it made me connect with not just the camp experience, but the rest of my life also. And another part of the dance where, which wasn't shown on the clip, it shows my later rejection of my Japanese culture, because I was married to Haole, that is Euro-American.
Well, we have another clip. Stella, will you tell us a little bit about your...
This goes further on into the dance, and at this point I'm depicting myself again as a child. And of course these are my most vivid memories because I was 5 years old when I went into the camp. And so I'm playing jacks, playing hopscotch, but then going on to where some of the teenagers were, probably where Florence was, and the dancing, the jitterbug that was done during that time. And so we're depicting the happy times that there were in camp. You know, I think the people really made use of what was going on, and they didn't just sit there and mope. You know, they really tried to enjoy themselves for what they could. So now, although I'm happy and carefree, there's still this impending gloom. You know something's not right. Of course, Glenn Miller, the Andrews Sisters were so popular during this time. And I loved them too, and this is one of my real strong memories of camp days, because I would see people dancing, and I knew then that I wanted to become a dancer. The change of mood here with the train, feeling like I'm saying goodbye to people, to the servicemen, to the men who were in the camps, who joined the army, who served in our armed forces.
You can almost feel being there. I mean, as an outsider, what you're trying to express. And I'm sure Florence can really go with it.
I was really excited that when Florence watched it, that she saw so many of the motifs and could, you know, feel attached to them, because I thought dance is so abstract. Will anybody really understand what I'm trying to say?
It looks like the pain does overshadow your...
Yeah, the memories again of being entrapped
Right.
behind the barbed wires.
Well, I must say it was the way you express it is just, I'm sitting here and I'm just mesmerized, because you really have a way of showing. And it's like Florence said, I mean, it's just incredible, and that's what really got me to have you on the show and have Florence narrate. So when you said, well, let's say something good came out of it, because when you were young and you were playing and you wanted to dance and you heard the music, that was your decision. Eventually, you want to be a dancer.
Right.
And when did you come up with the idea of using this as a topic?
Using the camp?
Right.
Probably, well, as I said, with my friend, we both discussed this, and it was probably about 13, 14 years ago that we started deciding that this was a topic that could be done in dance. And as I shared it with people, I was very interested in knowing what the feedback was, what other people thought of it, if they understood the theme behind it. And it wasn't really, I mean, I've never had a chance to discuss it with the audience until this time that we showed it at Immaculate Heart College Center. And so I was really excited when Florence stood up and said she really could feel the pain and she could remember things about camp days because of the dance, and certain areas stood out for her, like when I rejected my Japanese heritage. I thought to myself, I don't want to be Japanese. I'm an American. I'm going to be the best American I can be. I don't want anything associated with the Japanese culture. And so I tried to throw that away. But at the end of the dance, as we'll see in a later clip, I come back and I embrace my culture because it is important. It is a part of who I am. And that was part of the whole healing process for me too, was that I recognize that I can't deny who I am. I have to accept it.
We're getting a signal for your last clip because time is going real fast, and then afterwards I like to hear from Florence how it left you when you walked out, went home, and you know, let's talk a little bit about her last movement. Okay, we're ready.
This to me was just being, we were free from the camps. I thought I could go home, but no. I discovered there was still a lot of prejudice left. And even as a child, I was told, tell everyone you're Chinese, not Japanese, so that you'll be accepted. And here's where I'm rejecting my heritage and still being torn, caught in the middle.
5 minutes,
I think this is where you were thinking, Florence, that you could relate.
Yes.
What I was feeling.
Right. As I said, I went through this period. I'm divorced now, and I'm in a very good space in my senior years, and really.
when you think back of it, do you think with the feelings that you have, are they torn, or are you coming to grips with it? And especially seeing it in this way, like in the expression of dance, is there a bad feeling towards what happened, or is it coming? Are you coming clearer with it, or do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I think so, and I think that I was telling Stella this, that through dance, a lot of things can't really be expressed in words. That's
exactly it.
Okay, and so really appreciate it.
God, that was a wonderful, wonderful ending. Tell us a little bit about when you pick up your clothes. What is...
Well, you know, the kimono that I put on at the end has a crane, which stands for good luck and long life. And there's a sense of still being proud, not being ashamed anymore, that we're going to go back, we're going to be the best we can. And so there's a sense of pride that I want to say, that even if we've been in this situation, that we're going to try and make the best of it, go back, rebuild our lives.
And I believe through you being, having performed this particular dance, you probably have come around and see it from a different light, and basically it's done, like we said earlier, you started your dancing and it's done something for you. It's maybe loosened you up, or...
Yes, definitely. It's helped me to understand myself, where I was coming from. And as you work on a dance, you know, we talk about that movement doesn't lie. And so through your movement, you discover more and more about yourself, and you discover perhaps what your hurts were, and this is a way to deal with those hurts and to find a way of really coming out of this whole situation and healing yourself. And if I can share that with other people like Florence, and she can just relate to that through dance,
Right.
that then there's power behind the dance.
And I was telling Stella this, that I hope that more of the younger Japanese will see this,
Yes,
get a chance to
definitely,
see this dance.
Definitely,
Yes.
because it is part of history,
Uh-huh.
and what you're doing and what you're saying, you're putting it into a different light.
Right.
So let's look at it from a different angle for change, and it's done in a wonderful, wonderful way.
Beautiful.
I want to really congratulate you on it. It's a wonderful piece, and
Thank you.
good luck with it
Yes.
during the next years. Hopefully you can perform it more often, many times, everywhere. And I want to thank you, Stella, for coming and bringing your clips and showing a little bit of what you're doing. And Florence, thank you so much for coming as a spectator. Thank you,
Thank you
Stella.
for inviting us.
And I want to thank our audience for being with us today, and I hope you got a lot out of it, because I certainly did. It was a new subject for me, and when I saw it at the college, I was very, very impressed, and I thought I had to share it with you. So again, thank you so much for being with us, and let me remind you one more time, if you are interested in being a guest on our show, or if you have a nice topic for us, please let us know. Thank you for being with us, Stella and Florence. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
and bye-bye. And I thought that was...